Welcome to Private Club Radio, your weekly source for industry education, news and discussion. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
There is so much good in the world. We're not hearing much of it around the news these days, but I wanted to, on this episode of Private Club Radio, shine a light on some of the stories happening around the most incredible industry in the world, the private club industry, and the folks that serve. We're going to talk to Scott Lockwood of Baltimore Yacht Club, who grabbed my attention last week when I read a letter that he put out to his staff and members explaining that he was going to direct a portion of his own salary to help the employees affected by the COVID-19 situation who are not able to come to the club and work. That was such a touching story. I immediately thought I need to reach out to Scott and get him on this show and share that with all of you. I want to talk about some other things that I've seen as well before we bring Scott on. I took a number of screenshots here of things I've seen happen around the country. I've got a client up in Manhattan called The Players. And because The Players had an abundance of food, vegetables, fruits, and the like, and they had to shut their clubhouse down in Manhattan, they decided to donate those items to other New Yorkers who were in need. I thought that was absolutely incredible. Another story I saw around the industry, Eric Bischofberger, the assistant general manager of Colleton River Club, he gave a post on LinkedIn talking about the supplies that their club was putting together for their members. They created a commissary with toilet paper, bottled water, sanitary wipes, bleach, and things that were essential during this crisis. We got one more story here. Jacqueline West, she's the membership and communications director at Valley Low up in outside of the Chicago area. I'm seeing a picture right now on LinkedIn. They posted of a carload full of fruits and vegetables that they're taking out to a local food pantry for those that are less fortunate in the community. It's just such amazing to see the good happening, and I want to celebrate that here today on this episode. And without further ado, let's bring on Scott to chat about his selfless act, and I hope it inspires all of you out there to take whatever steps you can. Here we go. Well, I'm joined this morning by Scott Lockwood. He's the general manager of the Baltimore Yacht Club outside of downtown Baltimore. I guess that's Essex, Scott, right? Is that where your club is located?
It is. We're Essex Middle River area. Yeah, Essex Middle River.
First place I ever lived when I lived in Baltimore, actually, as a kid. I was about 6 years old, and that's where I was, down in Middle River. Yeah.
I was fortunate to have you here not that long ago with the Greater Baltimore chapter, and I'm glad I get a chance to speak with you here on this phone call.
Yeah, that was really fun too.
Sure.
Your chapter's a great one. What I enjoyed most about your chapter, actually, when I spoke there, is that you guys were casual, which I loved.
Yeah.
I think I showed up. I might have been the only one in a suit, but you guys were in jeans and casual that day. That was great to see.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You've done pretty extraordinary things. I've been keeping track of everything that's happening on social media with clubs all around the country, and yours has consistently stuck out for me the past 2 weeks. First off, Scott, I know you've been really big on sharing the communication that you're giving to your members. Why was that so important for you to share with the industry what you were telling your own members at Baltimore Yacht Club?
When I was growing up in the industry, I got so much out of what folks were sharing, what I read, industry, and to me it was also just a way to give back. I also kind of felt at the time when it started, the uncertainty, the wording, how people were going to say stuff was people were going to be at a loss. I mean, nobody goes through a pandemic. Certainly when you look back, how many years ago, and yes, we went through the 2008 stuff, but I'm a first-time general manager here at Baltimore Yacht Club. I've been here for 7 years, and we've been on a steady upswing. Our membership is going up, and things, kind of going along. And I something was eventually going to kind of happen, but nothing to this magnitude, obviously, that we were going to have a challenge. And I just think that it was very, very key to express and share and let people know that they weren't alone, and if it helped in guide or lead or help them in any way to write their communications, that it was worthwhile to do.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And I'd love you to just kind of take us back these last couple of weeks and talk about the types of communications that you put out there, how you made the decisions, how you came to the decisions that you eventually made that you communicated to the members. And, obviously we'll end with what I think is one of the coolest, most selfless acts that I've seen in the private club industry. But let's take it back a few weeks here, Scott. What were some of the first messages you were putting out to your membership?
Well, everybody will kind of go back, and I think a pivotal point in time is going to be the NBA canceling their season. I left the Wednesday night, and certainly there were some games, and the tournament was going to be not in front of a crowd, but the NBA kind of doing that. And I text my general manager, my Commodore at 6:45 in the morning. It resonates with me Thursday morning. It's not a time that we would normally communicate at all, just knowing that we were going to be dealing with a different moment in time. And I consciously sat down for my first communication and didn't put coronavirus in there, didn't put, links to the government stuff. I just had in my mind when I wrote that communication, there was enough of that out there. I mean, I had communications coming back to me from other vendors that we use that were sending that stuff. So I didn't judge anybody for making those things, but I made the conscious decision that we were going to just focus in on that it was what was going on here at the club, that it was a crisis, and if they wanted that kind of information, there was enough of it out there on the news. There was enough places for people to go and get that information, that we weren't going to say that it wasn't one. We weren't going to sugarcoat and say it was just a crisis or an issue. We did call it a health concern, and I think by saying that, people knew exactly what we were talking about. They didn't have to go too far or think that we were trying to hide behind it. But we didn't want our communications to get too bogged down with the information they could find elsewhere. Right.
Yeah, that was it's probably wise. And obviously, our members are very smart people. They're intelligent and they're up to date on the news most times. So definitely, that was probably a great approach. What came next? Because I know you put out a number of messages that same week and into the next week.
We wanted to convey a sense of community and safety. My conversations with the board, my conversations with the officers. I was very kind of blunt and direct with them as far as my ultimate concerns. I said I could be overthinking this, I could be overreacting, but I mentioned a bunch of different things. I said I'm not a germaphobe, but I can certainly play one, and we're going to look at everything with the utmost concern to the membership and to our staff, and certainly obviously starting with our staff, because my original concern, I listened to it in some of your other podcasts, were that I didn't want our staff to feel that they had to be here, that they were required, and that was a mixed emotion for me, because I knew that a lot of them were going to want to be here just to get a paycheck.
Right.
Everybody needed that. People are going to need income. So trying to balance the need of their needs to the safety needs were across the board. So the reason I also say that is because I try to be fair across departments, and that if we were going to limit people's hours, it wasn't going to be just in the food and beverage operation. It was going to be in the basin and in the office. It was going to be across departments, to be fair to everybody that could be able to work. And so we obviously we sent out pictures on Facebook. We did some stuff that we're cleaning and the measures that we were taking. But we were also discreet. I kind of did those more later. I didn't want to be too out. People knew we were doing stuff. All I had to do was show up and see that we weren't serving. We had a salad bar traditionally in our dining room every day, and then we went to obviously serve salads. That was a big key thing.
Sure.
And then shortly after the weekend, and we went into lunch, and the governor of Maryland, I think, astutely started to close down restaurants. We I don't judge people for doing carry out. We went to no carry out. We didn't want to make people feel like they had to be here. Once again, the staff required to be here. And we have, email me now. You will get a response back. Anybody in our management team, if you email any of them, you get a standard response back that the club is locked. There's only one way for people to get in and out of the club, one entrance, the kitchen, as well as the office, which are right next to each other. Mm-hmm. And it's just so we can monitor, so we know who's coming in and out, right. and the traffic, just to make people feel that the staff feel that and the membership that are coming in, that we're looking out.
Right, absolutely. So let's get to really that selfless act that I've alluded to here that you took, and I got to imagine that decision didn't just come alone. You had to talk that over. I know you're a married man. You had to talk this one over with your wife. But let folks know what you decided to do, because I think it's so inspiring.
I appreciate that, and I'm certainly humbled, and I appreciate the people that it has resonated as much as it has. But going back, it was pretty much on Saturday when I knew that I was going to have to, at the very least, when we were restricted to 50 people, and that people were probably not going to be coming at a good traffic flow, going to have to reduce hours. And I knew that there were people that were going to be, going to be out paycheck, or at least a reduction of hours, whether they're part-time or full-time. And at that time, I wasn't sure how long that would last. So I called my wife and said, I'm thinking of this, and I kind of danced around it a little bit. Honestly, I wasn't sure how to even as close a relationship we've had for 11 years, kind of come right out and say, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And she helped pull it out of me and said, she's like, of course, that's certainly fine. We'll manage what we have. But go ahead. And I'm fortunate, my wife and I, as far as being able to, I've been in my house for 20 years, and so we can manage that. And we have kids. Who had some decisions there that were a little bit flexible than most people might not. But at that point, I sat down and crafted an email that then she then saw as the one that responded, that Crystal, one of our part-time servers, responded to, that I had posted. I had other staff respond, but the context, the one that I shared on LinkedIn, because it made me feel so good. They all made me feel good, but that one was just the context in which she put that out there was resonating to me, and it made me feel so much good. So just to kind of jump a little bit too, is that now with the hours not really being as imperative, and trying to redirect that salary portion, obviously I made that commitment to the staff, and my wife and I have stuck by that commitment, and we are making a contribution in kind to what I was going to do to the employee fund in conjunction with the rest of our membership, the ones that are contributing, which is a fair amount, and certainly a lot of them that were interested in doing that, which made us expedite that, because we were going to kind of see, okay, what's the cash flow going to be, what are we going to need to ask for, and the concern was so much that we decided to go ahead and not wait to go through those numbers with a fine-tooth comb, to go ahead and get these things out and get it going now.
So you decided that you're going to actually take some of your salary and put that into the employee fund.
Correct. Yeah, that's how we ended up. That's what ends up happening now, because before it was, I was going to kind of take some hours if this went on for a month or so, and kind of give them, so anybody missed a shift, maybe 2 hours of their time, and kind of stagger this going down through paycheck to paycheck. And as soon as it became such an abrupt thing, we took a look at what we thought we were going to commit to, at least for a 2-month period, and committed that in one lump sum to the fund as a whole. Now that's our mission and goal currently, with the drive here at the club. Now, I'm going to commend our executive committee. I called them and I said, I don't know how this is. I've never gone through a pandemic. I don't know what to expect. I'm not sure how payroll is going to work. I don't know how, if we end up being in a shutdown, how it gets delivered, how it gets processed. And I didn't want at least our full-time staff, I know we had a little bit of restrictions. I didn't want our full-time staff to go and wait and wonder, when the paycheck was going to come, what they couldn't. They need necessities now. Right. We need necessities. My wife and I went to the store, got stuff down. So we cut checks in advance of the payout for the fund, so that they would have those starting yesterday.
Wow.
To cash and to go out and start getting some necessities that they desperately need.
That's fantastic.
Everybody does.
Out of curiosity, Scott, did some of your members see that and decide that they're also going to attribute to this fund as well, or what's gone on since that happened?
I might be too on that. I mean, the executive committee knows exactly what I've done. I mean, only the commoner knows the exact contribution outside of the person that's doing the paperwork in the office. As far as the amount, but the executive committee knows for sure. And I'm sure some of it's probably gotten out to some of the membership. I know some of the members are following me on LinkedIn, a handful. So
yep.
I'm sure it has, but I know that they didn't need poking or prodding. These people are going to donate. These people are going to contribute. Boulder Yacht Club is definitely a strong community of support. And so it was just, I'm glad that it's gotten out there, and I hope more people kind of hear. But I haven't added it as a portion. I've thought about it, different times when I started to sit down and try to craft a letter how I want to do it. Okay, a list of people have, but I just don't want to get in a position where who is and who isn't contributing. Sure. Everybody has the ability or their limits, and it's so that's the current approach with that.
I think that's a very valid point. I mean, some people can, some people can't. The fact that you did is just incredible. I hope other managers also see that. Have you heard about any other clubs doing something similar, whether it's coming from their members or from their staff themselves, since you put that message out?
I don't know. When I did it, I did tell our other salaried employees that I didn't expect them to do that in kind, or I didn't want them to feel that they should. I said, really what's going to happen with you all is that you're probably going to be end up working more hours to protect the staff and the club, and to make sure that we have a place to come back to after the shutdown. There's going to be so much more required of you.
Right.
But I certainly have, and I certainly have seen, clubs and companies in the area. I know one club. I also have a restaurant in the Baltimore area that's selling T-shirts and the proceeds going to their staff. And I've seen the virtual tip jar for other restaurant industries and other communities. So I'm sure there are, and I'm sure just like me, I don't want to. I kind of, when I first did it, I wanted to share the story, but I wanted to be doing it in a tactful way.
Right.
And the way after Kristen did that, it was about that email. And I know that coming through that email is also the act, but it was really how that made me feel to be the way that was worded and the way she shared it with me.
That's fantastic. Again, commend you so much, Scott. It was really inspiring to see. I know that across industries, we're going to be seeing more great things happen, and the good really come out of people. We see so much. You watch some of these television shows on Netflix, and it's doom and gloom. But when you see great things like this happen, I just thought we needed to shine a light on it and hopefully inspire others out there to do what they can, whether it's monetary, whether it's time, like you mentioned, whether it's putting together supplies and donating things to the local community, and any efforts that your clubs can make. I'd love to put them out here on Private Club Radio and really, really shine a light on the good that's happening. So, Scott, thanks for being the first. Go ahead.
I want to jump in with one more thing that we're kind of doing to leave with everybody, because I think that the next thing, now, and I even said to our Commodore the other day that now the reality is kind of set in, we've kind of moved on to kind of preparing for what's to come. And to me, it's kind of the mental health aspect of it all. And I will just kind of suggest to everybody, I think it's already out there. I saw some of the posts already, people kind of sharing their cell phone numbers and stuff. That is that, I've already reached out to a couple people. Every once in a while, 2 people a day, I would just call and just share stories, commiserate, let people know what you're doing, going on. And to that extent, that was why in our employee fund email, we encourage members to write back. I'm going to hold on to some of those emails and periodically just send them out to our mass staff email. And to get the staff hours for this week, and maybe the next week too, because we try to keep them on the payroll. Instead of having them come in and clean, since we didn't really need to do that anymore since we were closed, we had them come in. I had them come in, and they are writing emails. They took this home, so I have servers and cook now working at home. We usually wouldn't consider that'd be an option. They're working from home, writing letters that we stamped and gave them labels to the membership. just 2-3 sentences, let them know they're thinking of them, because I just know that that's going to be probably a very meaningful thing when they open that up, just the contact, let alone that it's coming for us and the club itself.
That's fantastic.
So just some suggestions there, because
Yep.
I think that's going to be the next wave.
Yeah, no, this is going to go on, I think, for many months. So it's going to evolve, and there's going to be a lot more decisions to be made. But again, what a great act that you started. I really hope we see more clubs around the country do that, Scott. Thank you so much for your time, and be well, my friend. You
too. Everybody be well, and if anybody needs anything, give me a shout. But everybody be safe and be healthy. Take care. Thank you, Gabe.
That's going to wrap it up for this special edition of Private Club Radio. Be well, be safe. I'll catch you back here on Monday. And until then, here's to your membership success.
Private Club Radio is brought to you by Concert Golf Partners, helping to preserve and enhance private golf and country clubs. Visit concertgolfpartners.com to learn more about the recapitalization process.